After a month of being on the road, the Wildcats are finally coming home. I'm Kara Stutzman.
And I'm Grant Boone. What better way to celebrate homecoming weekend than a visit with former ACU coach Wally Bullington? Welcome home. It's the Ken Collums Show right now. Welcome into Studio D1 for week number 8 of the Ken Collums Show. I'm Grant Boone, joined by senior broadcast journalism major Kara Stutzman and the second-year head football coach at ACU, Ken Collums. Homecoming on the Hill. Here we are. This is a real homecoming. You guys have been on the road for a month.
I know. We're like strangers coming home.
Do you need me to map quest the directions over to Shotwell for you? I can
no, I'm
do
good.
that.
I think we're good on that.
It's going to be a great day today. And later in the show today, you're going to get a chance to sit in this seat and ask some questions of the great Wally Bullington. His 1973 national championship team is going to be honored this weekend, along with the 1963 team, which was great as well. But you'll have a chance to sit in this seat and ask him some questions. That 73 team was something else.
That's right. And I ask Coach Bullington questions all the time. I'll just go in his office, shut the door, and say, hey, Coach, talk to me on this. And so it'll be good to let you guys in on some of that insight. I don't know how long our segment will be, but we need several hours to. There's a lot of insight and a lot of knowledge going on in there.
Yeah.
Well, Coach, this week is certainly going to be a special weekend. But last week, you guys played HBU and broke that 3-game losing streak. Got some great performances out of Taylor Gabriel and John David. How is that win going to help you going into this weekend and the rest of the season?
Well, the biggest thing that it solidified is it just showed us, you know what, if we protect the ball and force a few turnovers on defense and simply make the routine plays, that's what makes the difference. In our 3 losses, we pretty much protected the ball. We had a couple of turnovers sprinkled in there, and we've had some turnovers. We forced some turnovers, but we did not make routine plays, blocks, tackles, picks, all that consistently. And I think if we go in, we do those 3 things, we should be fine. That's what it tells us for the next 4 games, which is not a big revelation, but it affirms us in the fact that you know what, you go out and play well. You don't have to do anything freaky. Just make the routine play, and you should be fine.
Some guys who did some pretty freaky things when you were here earlier were at the game. Daniel Manning and Darrell Richardson stopped by. That was great to see them.
That was awesome. Great guys. And
then we got to see them the next day play against each other, the Texans and Rams. It was a great weekend all around, a great night, certainly last Saturday for ACU, that 69-12 win over Houston Baptist. Here with the game highlights, Ken Collums Show contributor Matt Sloan.
ACU headed south to take on Houston Baptist at BBVA Compass Stadium, looking to get back in the win column against first-year program HBU. Daryl Cantu Harkless was the first of many Wildcats to find the end zone, sliding by a couple of defenders and earning 6 points early. The Huskies would respond with a field goal, and fans thought they were in for a close game. The fans thought wrong. DCH runs through a chasm for another touchdown to give the ACU Wildcats a 2-possession lead early on. Here's safety Justin Stewart walking us through his first interception of the season.
It's all good. You know, the quarterback was rolling one way and he tried to throw across his body. And I saw him knock it up, so I just knew that I was going to get a chance to make the play.
The pick set up the first of 3 Taylor Gabriel scores. Gabriel goes up and gets the football, then says, "Get out of the way," finds the pylon, giving ACU a 20-5 lead. Then John David Baker would scoot into the end zone on a designed run and continue to add to the big Wildcat lead. HBU would find the end zone for the last time in the second quarter with a nice running play, narrowing the ACU gap to 27-12. Noah Cheshire doesn't always catch footballs, but when he does, he prefers to be in the end zone. 34-12 Wildcats. Here's John David Baker talking about Gabriel's unbelievable score before halftime.
And Taylor was kind of getting held up, and I knew he was fixing to be open, so kind of put it over the back there a little bit. He caught it, and then the rest is just, vintage TG. making guys miss, and you know, like I said, anytime you get the ball in one of those guys' hands, they're gonna make a play for sure.
The start of the second half meant more bad news for the Huskies, who break a big run then fumble the ball. Keith Barnett scoops it up and gives ACU's offense a short field. Then Cade Stone gets into the action, taking a handoff and beating everyone to the corner for another ACU touchdown. Then Gabriel would find the end zone for his third score. Adrian Duncan also scored a pair of touchdowns in the second half. The camera got closer to tackling him than the Huskies on this play. Malcolm Rubin would take a knee and end this one. An emphatic ACU victory, 69-12.
Thanks, Matt. When we come back on the Ken Collums Show, we'll take a full look back at that 69-12 win over Houston Baptist, including the play of the game. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Ken Collums Show. Let's look back, Coach, at that 69-12 victory over Houston Baptist. That's a nice way to kick off a new rivalry. I mean, the first time to play Houston Baptist. They've got some players. You can tell they've only got 30-something guys on scholarship. But you start the game with an 8-play, 66-yard touchdown drive. It's just the second time in 7 games that you've hit pay dirt on your opening drive. And I would think after 3 straight losses and some frustrating losses, that was a nice way to get things going.
Oh, yeah. That was just basically foreshadowing of how we were going to play the rest of the game, which a lot of times that's not a good indicator. You know, you see games all the time where teams will go down and score in their first possession, and they don't score again until the third quarter. But our guys went out and played clean. That's the number one thing that we needed, is to go out, move the ball, be smart with the ball, force a few turnovers on defense, and just make the routine plays. And we ended up making not only the routine plays, but we ended up making some really good plays. So that was good medication for the previous 3 losses. In fact, I told them after the game, you know, later in life, you'll not be sick for 3 weeks, alluding to our 3-game skid. You'll not be sick for 3 weeks and get a better 3-hour medication than what you just received, because winning a game, beating another team, and playing clean, that makes a lot of it better. And it sets us back on our feet where we should be, where we were, but we didn't feel like that when you're not winning games.
Sure.
It'll set us up for the last 4 games.
You talked about some of those spectacular plays you made. Let's get right to our play of the game, and we go to number 4, Taylor Gabriel. We talked about it many times. His ability to stop sets him apart from a lot of receivers. Let's take a look at this play here. Right at the end of the first half, and there he throws the brakes on. You just don't see guys able to do that, do you?
No, with his body control, he is, he's a little guy, but he is very flexible, very fluid. And, it's more being a good receiver and a playmaking receiver. And he's got a little drama to him there, so that's he's high drama. He's a little bit of a diva at times.
He's a receiver.
That's exactly right. But being a quality receiver is more than just running fast and catching the ball. It's maneuvering, it's bending, it's hip flexibility, it's your flexibility in your core, and it's your ability to stop. A lot of times your ability to stop faster than the next guy is what creates separation. You see it in the NFL all the time. Those guys are rarely just wide open.
Yeah.
And a receiver that can maneuver and throw on the brakes, because we're not created to move backward, and we're not created to stop. We're created to go, and you're almost fighting against how you're created as a receiver. But he does it all really well.
Let's go a little bit more second level here. You said even after his 10-reception game against Pittsburgh State that you were frustrated a little bit on a couple of occasions with his route running, and you challenged him on that specific front, how he ran his routes, being more specific, exact in the way he ran his routes. And you told me, in addition to the spectacular nature of that play we just saw, you loved how he ran his route Saturday night.
Oh, no doubt. In the Pitt State game, when our quarterback was under duress, the pocket was getting compressed. Not every pass, but quite a bit. You need those receivers to be really sharp with their splits, with their depth of the route, so the timing will work out. And a lot of times when things are a little bit off, it's not all the quarterback. Sometimes it is the receivers, because throwing a football is about timing. It's about rhythm. And he did not. He had 10 catches at Pitt State. Everybody's woohoo, that's great. But he played a way better game this week simply in terms of the details and his approach to his route running. He was sharp and he was crisp. His depth was really, really good. His eyes, we talk a lot about shoulders and your eyes and your chin and what you do with all that, and he did a really good job this last Saturday.
7 catches, 174 yards. That's a career high. He's now tied for 4th in touchdown receptions with 24. He's now 3rd all-time in receiving yards. He's only 100 and change behind Clyde Gates for number 2. And maybe the best anecdote of the night, my son Nick was down on the sidelines as our production assistant on the radio broadcast. He heard a Houston Baptist player say after Taylor caught his 3rd touchdown, man, how does anybody ever tackle you?
Yeah.
And the answer is, they often don't.
Yeah, sometimes they don't. If it's one-on-one, the hardest thing to do in football is get somebody on the ground in open field. And he is, when you're little and slippery, oh yeah, it's pretty tough.
Well, another pretty slippery fella who continues to work his way up a couple of different lists for ACU is Daryl Cantu-Harkless. Scored your first couple of touchdowns the other night. He moved Saturday night above 1,000 yards in his career rushing. He's just the 3rd player in ACU history to have 1,000 yards rushing and 1,000 yards receiving. The other 2 guys, well, we'll talk about one in our next segment, Wilbert Montgomery. The other is Bernard Scott. Daryl is now 124 yards shy of becoming a 1,000-yard kick returner as well. The trifecta.
Yes.
I think we're talking about, and we've said this, we've intimated, a few times through the years. I think we're talking about a guy who's going to go down in history comparing very favorably to anyone who's ever played at ACU, aren't we?
That's right. Daryl is one of the best players I've ever coached, and he is a shrimp. And I guarantee you, when people line up against him and they see him in the backfield, they're probably going, "This guy, really?
This is the one they're talking about."
He's about 5'9", and in pads he doesn't look like much, but then he just dices them up.
Oh.
And he is so instinctive. He is very intelligent. He's one of the tougher guys that you'll see. I've never heard him complain literally about anything, and I've known the guy for 4+ years. And he is one of the best that has ever played, that I've ever coached, and that's ever played here.
You stress constantly protecting the football. John David Baker is 23-2 this year. 23 touchdowns thrown, a couple of running as well,
that's right,
and only 2 interceptions. Mitchell Gale was off the charts in 2010. He was 38-3. We didn't think we'd come anywhere close.
Right.
JD at 23-2. I know you love the 23, but you may love the 2 even more.
Yes, and the fact is that touchdowns are going to come and go.
Yeah.
The 69 points, the whatever, we don't focus on points. So we don't focus on touchdown passes, but we do focus on protecting the ball. And if you can go through 7 games and throw 2 picks, you're right on track. And I anticipate the same thing for these last 4 games.
Should be good. Great way to begin that new rivalry with Houston Baptist. Don't go away. When we return, Coach Collums will welcome to the set one of his predecessors, the great Wally Bullington. But first, take a look at last week's Southland Conference scores. Keep it here on the Ken Collums Show.
Welcome back to the Ken Collums Show. Other sports around campus are still underway. With more on that, here's Matt Sloan and Sharony Morowski.
Welcome to the JMC Network Sportscast. I'm Sharony Morowski. ACU soccer plays its last 2 home games of the season this weekend at ACU. Senior Andrea Carpenter talked about the end of her career at ACU and what she hopes to leave behind with the team.
I just hope it was like people see, I guess, where hard work can get you, and like if you put in the time and if you're coachable and when you build relationships on the team, that you can do a lot more than just be like a soccer player, but you can excel in school and have, all these amazing memories with these girls.
And I'm Matthew Sloan. The women's tennis team will wrap up their fall season in Fort Worth this weekend. Junior Brittany Reed thinks the transition has gone well so far.
I think it's more of a natural progression for us because we've played so many D1 tournaments. So I think going into it, we know the competition is going to be tough, but it's just more of a natural progression because we've been there before.
Men's tennis travels to Waco this weekend to play in the ITA Regionals at Baylor. Sophomore Nicholas Wingard talked about what the team can expect at the tournament and how the season has gone so far.
I think I play a really good tournament. I beat pretty good players, so I'm happy about that. And I think as a team we are growing up, and will be next spring will be a pretty good semester for us.
Thanks for watching. I'm Sharon Morosky.
And I'm Matthew Sloan. Join us again next week.
Earlier today, a special guest stopped by the set, ACU coaching legend Wally Bullington. He sat down with ACU's current head coach, Ken Collums, to talk about the 1973 National Championship team and more. Here's what happened.
Well, this is a real treat. We've got the great Wally Bullington joining us here to talk about that 1973 team, which is being honored this weekend here on Homecoming. I don't recall having the Wally Bullington show looking quite as elaborate as this set here. Was it, Coach?
It's about a third this time.
Okay, gotcha.
Well, Coach, let me ask you this, because I get some insight from you that nobody else gets to. I am blessed with that opportunity. Talk to me a little bit on how you invested in those players. ACU is a different place. It provides the opportunity for the head coach to invest and change lives. What's the best thing about coaching?
You know as well as any coach, your chemistry, your locker room chemistry is so important, and you've got to do things early in a year to bring that chemistry where you want it to be. Right. First thing you got to do is be sure that your coaching staff has that chemistry. And we had Ted Sitton, offensive coordinator. We had Don Smith, offensive line coach.
Great coach. Oh,
we had
gosh.
K.Y. Owens heading up the defense, and we had Jerry Wilson, who was a young coach. And, you know, we were on the same page, and all of us wanted, number one, is for these guys to come out of this program with a college degree and really know what a real man is. And you've continued to do that. Chris Thompson has done that, right. And I think that's unique about our program.
Well, it is. It is. I appreciate you laying that groundwork way back when, and it still is a breathing, living thing as I run that program today.
Well, I really appreciate you and Chris and what you want to see happen to these guys in their lives. It'll be something that'll come to them after football. And a lot of times down the road, they get to thinking, man, you know, Coach, he had something going.
That's right.
We still have reunions. As Grant mentioned, we're having the 40th reunion of this national championship team this weekend at Homecoming. And about every year, they have a reunion somewhere. And you get so close, and I think that is a characteristic of a championship team, is the closeness and the chemistry that they develop.
And I know, Coach, that it's going to be a special night. It was a special night for you Friday night when Chip Martin and Jerry Wilson went into the ACU Hall of Fame, a couple of guys who made their marks on that 1973 team.
That's true. Jerry was a young coach, and Chip was a middle guard. He also was a good performer in the weights and track. So Chip is a good athlete and was. And we're really proud of them going into the Hall of Fame.
Coach, we appreciate you coming by the Ken Collums Show here. Much of what happens at ACU still today, not just in football, but all across the university, is due largely to the foundation that you helped lay. I know you had a lot of help, but you were a huge reason for why ACU is what it is today. We appreciate you coming by.
You're always welcome. Great run for me.
Oh, it's been a very good run for you and for ACU. When we come back, here on the Ken Collums Show, we will preview today's homecoming matchup, ACU versus Incarnate Word. You can hear it. Back here on the Ken Collums Show, take a look at today's Southland Conference schedule, highlighted, Coach, by a top 10 matchup. Sam Houston State, number 2 in all of FCS, on the road down in Lake Charles, Louisiana, to take on McNeese State's Cowboys, who are number 9. Who do you like in that one?
I don't know.
Oh, way to ride the fence.
I'm gonna
like
step
a cowboy.
out there. Yeah, that's right. So, I know both teams are really good. They got really good skill players and a lot of big guys that are going to be pushing on each other. That should be a good game.
Both 5-1, both 1-0 in the conference.
Yes.
Well, this afternoon we play Incarnate Word, who made the jump to D1 with us from the Lone Star Conference to the Southland Conference. What is that familiarity across the field going to feel like, looking and seeing a uniform that you've seen several times before, especially because this season you haven't gotten a lot of that?
Yeah, very few times this season we've been able to do that. But you know, sometimes it matters, sometimes it doesn't. When there's the same coordinator hanging around for years, you kind of get to know that guy on third down and short. What's this guy going to do? Third down and short inside the 20, fourth and game, something like that, something that we can tell our coordinators about, and so that's basically it. We know the guys that play for them because we played for them, we played against them for years now. So it'll be good. It's good to play somebody familiar, and we're looking forward to it.
Last year, Larry Kennan came in his first year at Incarnate Word, and you could see that the program began to turn. They're just a sixth-year program. I mean, they've only been around since 2009 playing football. And he's brought in some quality players. He's got a starting freshman quarterback in Trent Britton and a pretty good starting running back who's a freshman as well. And he brought in a JUCO transfer at wide receiver. This is a better team than they've had in previous years, aren't they?
Oh, yeah. And you can tell, they've got good players. Now, across the board, everybody's still trying to upgrade as we all move up. But they know what they're doing. You can tell that they're well coached. They don't do crazy things, get themselves out of position, and they can throw and catch, and they can run the football. And that's what, when Coach Kennan went in there, he's a guy that, hey, we're going to run the ball, and we're going to commit to it. So they use some big people stuff. They spread people out. They're a lot of pro style, but their quarterback, the quarterback's a playmaker. He can beat you with his legs, and he's a very adequate thrower. So we better put a little heat on him and compress that pocket a little bit, make him uncomfortable.
Well, Coach, last year Incarnate Word was a very scrappy team, holding us to only 24 points in their loss. But what have you seen from them this year, especially on the defensive side of the ball, some of the guys that might cause us a little bit of trouble?
Yeah, well, the first thing you look for is they're big people. They got a couple of D linemen that are a big nuisance to everybody they play, and that's good for them. So they're going to try to get in our backfield in the run game, and they're going to try to create matchups with their D line versus our O line, and that's where it all starts. And they got a couple guys that can do that. Secondary wise, they're playing some young guys, a couple young corners, but they all can play, and they're good players. Some of them need to grow up, as is some of our guys. So we're going to have to play clean to win this game. Because they're a quality team. How good they are, they've lost to some really good people, and we've lost to some good teams. So it should be a pretty good matchup.
Last thing, it's weird to say this in mid-October, but this is senior day for some guys who've done a whole lot for your program the last few years.
Oh, yeah. I mean, when you have seniors that come through, and some of these guys have been here a long time, and some of them have run up some really good numbers, and which is good. And most of them are offensive guys that have been impact guys for a long time, and we'll try to make it special for them. And I've been speaking to the fact that their time's running out, and not to make them sad, but make them to appreciate and to look around and to give more than they take in these last 4 games, and they understand that.
Well, a final note before we close today's show. Thursday of this week would have been the 11th birthday of our little buddy Rex Fleming, the son of our friend Lance Fleming, ASU Sports Information Director and my partner on the football broadcasts. Rex was diagnosed with an especially insidious brain tumor the week ASU prepared for a second-round playoff game in 2010. His life ended shortly after the Wildcats defeated Incarnate Word to end the 2012 season. Rex's 2-year battle and the joy and ferocity with which he fought it captivated the ASU football team, the ASU community, both on campus and throughout the university's alumni network, the city of Abilene, and countless friends and family around the world with the rallying cry, P4X, pray for Rex. On November 25th of last year, those prayers were answered in a way none of us wanted, but with the best possible result for Rex. So this weekend, as you celebrate homecoming, remember Rex and his parents, Lance and Jill, his sister Ashley, his little brother Ryan. We remember Rex, and we believe and eagerly await that great reunion to come. For Kara Stutzman and for Coach Ken Collums, I'm Grant Boone. Thanks for watching the Ken Collums Show here on KTexas and on ACUoptimist.com. Have a great homecoming weekend. We'll see you at Shotwell Stadium at 2 p.m. The radio broadcast begins at 1:30. So long.